I don't know if anybody's here. I don't really care. I mean, I do, but I don't too because I got stuff to do. So I'm just going to talk while I do some stuff. Maybe let you learn along with me. Hey, maybe I could do like this. Let's see. I'll do a screen share. All right. Let's do a screen share over here. Share. And then we'll split it like this, maybe. I don't know. Or we can do it like this and we'll just screw around with stuff because if no one's here, I can do whatever I want. So one of the things is does TikTok, we'll just use this. All right. Does TikTok work on a PC? What if I put in TikTok? What happened? All right. Let's go to TikTok.com. Hey, somebody's here. I'll turn on the chat. If you want to just chat with me, that's awesome. Hi. So I started using TikTok this week. And actually, one of the people who works with me and is helping me created a cool TikTok. And believe it or not, I got a TikTok in 1 week that got 10,000 views. How about that? Greetings, Tanya Robinson. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. I don't really have topics necessarily today. So if you want to ask me some questions, please do. That would be awesome. I'm actually trying to figure out a couple things about like TikTok and all. I can tell you too, last week, actually, this is kind of fun. Here, let's go to YouTube. Because I was last week in the great town of Boone at what is called the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. Yeah, nice. Tanya, thank you so much. I'm excited that you're actually doing that. That's very cool. And do you like my signs? I guess that's the important thing, right? I guess, what are you going to say? No, I hate your signs. I guess at this point, they're signs. There's nothing much we can do about it, right? So Tanya said she's going to put up signs in Ashe County tomorrow. And I'm like, that's pretty exciting. And it is for me because I have not ever had signs before. And so that's pretty exciting. So I will show you this. This is kind of fun. Let's see. So anyway, out here, there's me.
Right. So I was like, can I ask you, how much do you make?
All right. So
if anybody tells you they're going to fix inflation, our time.
This is the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce Meet the Candidates Forum.
This forum is not intended to be a debate between.
And so, what's this?
Open throughout the state.
This is kind of fun here.
Areas like Western Winston-Salem, and it contains.
Right, South Seat, Kyle Parrish. Kyle, at this time, thank you for joining us, and you may make your 2-minute opening statement.
Absolutely. Thank you.
There we go.
I'm Kyle Parrish, and I'm up here by myself. There's a lot of microphones, apparently, for all of us. But Virginia chose not to show up, which I expected because she hadn't held a town hall in 8 years. So I don't expect that she's going to show up and have to answer any questions from anybody. I, being a first-time candidate, I'm more than happy to answer any questions anyone has, and I'll do the best I can. Not going to pretend I know everything, but I am going to be happy to tell you that I'll go and find out. I'm running because
here, this is good, but then
there's a lack of representation in the fifth.
Where's it? Like 25? Let me see. You can go watch this on YouTube at Boone Area Chamber of Commerce.
Pretty brutal, but it seems like, $500 a month. I was like, okay.
Where is it?
Industry, highlighting gaps in the availability of care and threatening providers' financial sustainability with lower enrollments, increased costs, and workforce challenges. How would you support the industry now and in the future and ensure that working families can access safe, quality, affordable care?
I wanted to find this one part.
I mean, that's a really tough question because we have employee problems anywhere. Again, I'm going to go back to the fact that you've got to pay child care workers more than $8 an hour, right? So we all talk about we're not going to co-parent with the government, but you'll co-parent co-parent with somebody with more
Andrea,
experience that you
good
pay $8 an
evening.
hour, and you'll leave your kid with them 8 hours a day. We need to make childcare something that is valued. And once again, I'll turn it back on you. I'm sitting here answering these questions. The person who has had 18 years to solve these problems and 3 years as we've ramped up to the pandemic and through it has done nothing. Absolutely zero to address this issue. And so I ask you to ask her, people, what are you going to do to help with childcare? Because one of the biggest problems is with people can't get employed is because they can't afford childcare that will actually pay, or they can't get a job that pays enough to allow them to pay to take care of their kids. I mean, again, it goes to, you got to pay people more, and you got to basically set it up so that people can be winners. Right now, we're setting up a system where everybody is crippled.
Do want to remind folks that if you have any questions for Kyle Parrish this evening, you can email us at info@boonechamber.com.
So for those of you who don't know about this, I was up in Watauga in Boone, and this is a forum. And if you look, that whole table is supposed to be filled with people. It was supposed to be me and Virginia Fox, but of course, Virginia Fox did not show up. Big shocker. All right, let's see. There was this other great, I wish I had my timer set about when it was, because I think it's at 4:25. Which at 4:25 would make it 31 right on here. Oh, what happened? Oh, no. I'll fix it. Oh, no. That wasn't good either. All right, here. It's 31 then? Is that right? Let's see. So this is where I got a gotcha. I thought it was pretty fun. Anyway.
Employees? Like, what's that about? Or you go to a third party that does it, right?
Oh, this is the healthcare question. I like this.
Back into the small business support. SBA has been very helpful.
I don't care about that.
It's by Dollar General, right? We need to basically break down monopolization.
Here we go.
And you keep it out of the hands of the corporations that'll take it back home.
I don't know why I squunched up my face like that. I have to work on TV face.
Health insurance.
What's TV face? Because I was like,
topic for businesses as well as community members across our area. It is very, very tough for businesses who want to take care of their employees, but it's becoming almost impossible.
You've hit my passion. Oh my God. Why do businesses support private employer-based health insurance? Like, what are they even thinking? Like, you've got a business, right? So you set it up, and let's say you got 10 employees. And now, what do you have to do? You got to go negotiate your own health insurance contract.
Here, I'll pause it just for a second so I'm not talking over myself. But I can tell you this. So it was interesting. So look at how happy I look there. I look all happy, don't I? There we go. I'm happy here too. So anyway, I just want to say right out of the gate that the camera added 50 pounds. All right. Just saying, just putting it out there. Anyway, Tanya says, I'm shocked a lot of people didn't show up. Well, so I go to this thing and literally there's only a few people in the audience when I'm there. And it's because I guess Virginia Fox didn't show up. So they're like, we're going to show up late. And they care much more about their kind of commissioner's race, their sheriff's race, their board of education race than they do about the U.S. House of Representatives race. But I was absolutely shocked at how few people were there. On top of that, this is basically in the parking lot of Appalachian State University. And the Appalachian State University Democrats, the students, they held some kind of like, I don't know, PowerPoint workshop from 5 to 6. So while I was here, they were upstairs making some funny PowerPoints or something in their building. So I'm like, I didn't get that support. And so I thought, maybe it's just me. But then later on, what you found out is when it did fill out a little bit, there was a bunch of people that showed up, but they were all Republicans. So if you were brave enough to sit through 4.5 hours of this or turn it on 1.5 speed and sit through 3 hours of it, what you would find is that there becomes a lot more cheering for the people in the Republican side of the house than there's the Democrats. I don't understand why the Democrats didn't show out. I mean, they really should have. They should make an effort to show. They should make an effort to support their candidates. They should make an effort to cheer people on, right? I mean, honestly, they should. And I was a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lie. So hopefully in the future it'll be different.
Right? You don't have expertise in that. Let's say you're a tire shop. You've got expertise in tires. Now you're trying to negotiate a health plan for your employees. Like, what's that about? Or you go to a third party that does it, right? Then they go back to the insurance company who's got marketing agents, who's got IT departments, who's got everything in the whole world. All of this results in how much does that help in your healthcare? How many lives does that save? How does that reduce cost? Oh, that's right. None of it does. Also, saying you're an entrepreneur, say you're a really smart person, but you got a couple kids and you're young and you want to go start your business. What would be the biggest barrier to an entrepreneur starting a business today? Finding healthcare. We need to get rid of employer-based healthcare because an employer has no business being involved in your healthcare accessibility and affordability, none at all.
Yeah.
And we need to wean off of basic health being part of a private health insurance firm. And then lastly, again, I'm going to draw a very clear distinction between myself and my fully absent opponent. Her plan is, well, we should just open up private insurance to be able to sell insurance across state lines. There's only one analog that we've had in the business that I know of where they did that, and that's credit cards. Did that make credit cards cheaper? Did it lower interest rates? Did it do any of that? No, it didn't. So I'm a single payer guy. We need to get employers out of health insurance, and then that way it's a thing, right?
We've got a few college students in the audience tonight, and certainly a part of this community. And there's been a lot of conversation about.
So it's funny if you look at this screen, right? So this cat over here, who's like staring at whatever, he's the timekeeper. So if you, one of the things when I rewatched this was the way that like I just stopped. I'm like, you know, it's a thing. It's because this guy over here is like waving his arms, telling me to stop, kind of thing, and I'm like not stopping, and then I feel like, oh, I gotta stop. So it was interesting. It was me, these two guys, and this timekeeper cat, and we're the only people on the stage. And then there's a few up front. Now, Tanya Robinson, when you said, and I probably shouldn't drop your last name, but anyway, about Dems not showing to support the candidates in rural areas, this actually, so as excited as people have been about Roe v. Wade and these other things that are going on, the demise of democracy, I've absolutely seen a higher level of enthusiasm amongst Republicans in my travels. And that's scary as hell. Like literally, they are the ones like that are putting signs out everywhere, and they seem to be more engaged. So maybe signs don't matter. Like there's people that believe that too, like signs don't really matter. But I'm worried that there's a level of enthusiasm that's higher. In another way, I'm kind of like, well, is it because Democrats are almost cowed? They're like a little bit intimidated. So they're still very enthusiastic, but if they're not in a group, they're not out there kind of showing themselves because of the intimidating nature of a lot of the Republicans right now. I don't know. We better show up in between now and November 8th. I'll tell you that. And we better show up on November 8th because there's some big stuff at stake. So we'll go back to the thing now.
Consolidation or
the first 20 minutes of this thing I wasn't super happy with, but this is good though. So I did healthcare. Now we're going to go into student loans or something. Yeah.
What is your stance on that? And again, I'll ask the question, what is the federal government's role in this particular endeavor?
Oh man, I love this one. Another one. You're just getting me going here. So student loan debt. I'm going to start with S-2598, which is a Senate bill, bipartisan, John Cornyn, Josh Hawley, and yeah, it's funny, I can't remember the Democrat name, Dick Durbin. He brought this bill. What is it? It's a bill that says, hey, you should be able to go bankrupt and get rid of your student loan debt. And you're like, what? You can't go bankrupt? No, you cannot. There's a special dispensation that says you can't discharge student debt in bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy is actually written into the Constitution.
I have a good line coming up here at the end of this.
They are constitutionalists.
Popped off the top of my head.
Refuse to do it. Oh, and can you guess who one of the biggest roadblocks to any advancement on student debt bankruptcy relief is? Oh, that's right. It's the senior member of the ranking member of the Education and Labor Committee, Virginia Fox, who her top two donors are student loan companies and for-profit colleges that make all their money off of student loans. You'll never see that when she's attacking it. Joint consolidation is another huge problem. Joint consolidation, which is going away now, was where if you married someone and they had $100,000 in debt and then you got divorced and that person went deadbeat, the companies could come back to you, even though you have nothing to do with that person and their debt, and hold you accountable. That's ridiculous, right? Many of the people who have student debt, and this is very important at a place like App, and even more important at private schools sometimes, is they were either sold a bill of goods or they've been paying a loan for a long time and have experienced negative amortization. What that means is even though they've paid for 10 years and they've paid off the principal balance, they now owe more than they ever had. It's a broken system. We need to fix it. Now, that is my answer because I've already gotten my hand signal. But I mean, this is a complex topic, but bankruptcy is absolutely something that has to be restored. Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times. Why can't a student go bankrupt once?
Our immigration policy has been very controversial lately. The immigration status.
My immigration
and
response
laws
also
were actually formed
didn't make a friend or
in the
two among a
19th
couple of these
century.
people, I think.
When they decided there were too many people coming in, they wanted to limit it, but they limited in terms of certain areas. Europe was very heavily allowed to come in, but now it's changed significantly. This
Like
is
the
an
way the guy
area that has
dances
a
around
lot
the
of
question.
Christmas tree
He doesn't
growers
talk about the
and
fact
a
that,
lot
yeah,
of
we're like
immigrant
not letting brown people in.
employees. What is your idea of how to fix the immigration problem?
I mean, it's another huge issue, right? That it 1/4% of the House of Representatives, you can speak up about how you feel about it, and if you can get over the den, great. But let's put it this way: we have some of the lowest unemployment we've ever had in this country, right? We got a lot of people who don't want to do these jobs that they aren't getting paid for, right? We've got agricultural crops all over. It's not, here's Christmas trees, but Florida is oranges.
And I don't know if everybody
there are
that's watching
tomatoes
this
that
is
go all the way
from
up
the
the East
5th, but
Coast and then back
there are
over
like
to
Christmas trees
California.
everywhere. It's so
We've always
cool.
had migrant
It's like
workers
the
come in.
largest
We've
Christmas
got
tree farming
roofers,
area in the country.
carpenters, and everything else.
It's
People
very
who
cool.
want to come here and work should have an opportunity to do that. People who were attacked.
Yeah, that's funny,
by,
Andrea. These guys
people in
obviously are not
countries
on my
that are
team,
under
but
threat of
that's okay
extortion or
too.
death
They did a
should be able
good
to come
job of
here and claim
not
asylum,
picking sides in
right?
a way,
We should
right?
not be scared of that. We are a country of 350 million people. We can absorb them. They're everywhere. And the thing is, and I've never heard anyone who's so adamantly opposed to undocumented workers ever say, if we catch you with undocumented workers, we take your business, we shut it down, and we put you in jail as the owner. When people say that, I'll believe it. Otherwise, it's just more xenophobic, reactionary behavior from these people. And especially up here. It's not like, how far are we from the border? I mean, for people up here to scream about immigration all the time, it's ludicrous.
That's not helping.
A few questions that have come in through info@boonchamber.com.
The truth busts out.
2 of them are almost word for word similar, so I'll combine those into one. But I've got a few that I'll ask you here, and these are coming from community members. So just keep that in mind as the questions come. They are coming about as unfiltered as I can give them to you. All right. First question is, and this is a timely one, I will say. In the past day, gas prices have gone up 30 cents a gallon. What is your plan to improve rural constituents' daily commute?
Oh, that's really good. So 2 parts. I'll answer the first part. I actually tweeted something about this ridiculous gas price elevation today.
I know
So
it's hard to believe I would
notice that
tweet
your gas
something to
prices
you
went
out
up,
there.
right? You should support a windfall profit tax on oil companies, because the reason they went up is because MBS and his OPEC buddies decided that they weren't going to make enough money, cut production 2 million barrels a day. right? So it wasn't a supply problem. It's none of these things. It's not all this. It's basically a profit grab for these people. Number one. Number two is the broadband is huge to reducing commutes for a lot of people. Giving them ability to have consistent, reliable, high-speed access to the internet will allow them to participate in Zoom, will allow them to participate in conference calls. I personally work for a global company, and I spend a lot of my time talking to people in Ireland, in India, and all across the United States because I have consistent, good broadband. Right, I have a weekly stream.
I went to a Duke football game, and all I got was this lousy cup and Duke pummeling the University of Virginia.
And I have good broadband at home, so I can actually do it. So the technology is a great enabler. The gas price right now is a red herring. If anybody tells you it's different, they're wrong.
Let me respond to that by saying we have a lot of people who work.
This is a great question. I completely agree with this guy's question.
Who are waitresses in our restaurants. We have people who are sales clerks in our stores. They're not going to be the ones that are going to be on Zoom as part of their job.
True that.
They're the ones
who
also have difficulty finding the kind of reasonable place to live here in town. So those are the people who are suffering, who have the 30 cents a gallon more that they have to pay.
Absolutely. And that's an affordable housing issue, though. That's not it's a gas issue only because it's an affordable housing issue, right? So I was looking there's 355 building permits at the end of last year, right? In Watauga County. You've got to figure out how to house these people, not keep pushing them to the hinterlands. And this is a really tough battle. And so folks here in Watauga on the city council have been fighting this battle a long, long time, right? I mean, it's still going.
And this is true. I mean, even in Ash, right, Tanya? I mean, you've got a problem up there, right? I mean, honestly, you've got issues everywhere.
I don't even know.
Greetings, Damon.
It's feasible. But I think we need to prevent corporations from being able to buy single family.
Here, I'm going to pause this only for a second because I want to add something. So I didn't go back and verify this, but in a later one of these meetings that they're having, right? So it's me in the House of Representatives, then it's like, I think the sheriffs are next, then it's the county commissioners, then it's the Board of Education, then it's the county commissioners, I think. So they've got these. So later on, somebody mentions the fact that, and I don't know, this sounds crazy, but something like 70% of the houses in Watauga County are either second homes or rentals now. Like, that's insane because, I mean, that's just driving the prices up. So where are police, firefighters, teachers, nurses, waiters and waitresses, bartenders, daycare workers, anything, where are they supposed to live? It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. We got to figure it out. We got to help people. And I think one of the things is and I talk about this, we need to keep corporations from buying up properties or people with LLCs buying properties. I think they need to either be a second home that is, or it's got to be owner occupied, and all rentals need to be long-term for a big piece of it. Because the Airbnb market, if somebody can pay their entire mortgage in 2 months during the summer and the house just sits vacant for the other 10, that's problematic.
I think you should not be able to buy a home using an LLC or anything else. Corporate entities like Blackstone have gone.
And that should be BlackRock. My mistake.
Thousands of homes.
Rocks and stones are the same. I make mistakes.
Or to reduce dilution in the market, right? So you have less.
Well, in Tanya, when I was hanging out in Ash this weekend, it's a whole bunch of retirees, right? Retirees in second home. In Boone, it's a lot of like student type of owned or parents that own houses, as well as some retirees and that type of thing.
Underpaid and underappreciated significantly are the ones that are most impacted by this, right? I mean, they're the ones that are getting pummeled.
I mean, VRBO and Airbnb, I mean, they're killing Ash. I can completely believe it. Where are people going to live?
They have to basically find a place that maybe is 10 miles out, 15 miles outside of town on a windy road, and it takes them 30 minutes to get here. So I think we need to look at it from the perspective of how do we control acquisition of homes in order to make sure there's liquidity in the market.
Another one of the submitted questions.
Derek, you missed my answer to
comments
student
I made
loans.
earlier about
You showed up
childcare
late, and so you missed the
in
student loan
shortening
question.
this a bit. You said
Maybe
that
I'll
we
rewind
should
at the
pay
end.
more to those administering childcare, but you also say that we need to have affordable childcare options to encourage employment. If childcare costs more and fewer can afford that, how does that add up? Do you care to respond?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
this was a great
there
question
are
too. I
some
love the fact that
conundrums,
people
right?
hold my
I
feet
mean,
to the
the whole
fire.
thing
We
is
should be holding
that
every politician's
you're
feet to the fire.
paying people more. Hopefully you've got people that have more expertise at it and could do a better job of the whole thing.
I should have
Things
written
they
the
may be
time
able
down,
to
Derek, when I was
handle
answering it,
some
but
more.
we'll find it.
I honestly do believe there should be some government supports for people who need it in order to give them the opportunity to put their child in a child care that may be more expensive. So right now, the problem is I've got to make up all the money, and all I have is a child care credit that I can get on my tax dollars, or a flexible spending account where I can basically save up for my kid being taken care of. That's not.
And a lot of companies don't have like dependent care accounts. And a lot of companies don't support funding a dependent care account or help with child care. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, man, how are you going to get people to work if they can't take care of their kids?
Where do businesses get all their employees? Public education, for the most part. Where do they get their employees? From the field of people that have kids. Businesses should take ownership of the fact that their employees need affordable child care. They should be subsidizing this also. And if they don't want to, because they don't want to maintain the program, they should pay taxes that are going to actually help alleviate the child care so that it helps them get employees.
The last question that we've got that I'll bring from the submissions is really a combination of four that offer a similar tone. So I'll just ask them all as one. And this addresses somewhat of the elephant in the room. If you are elected to this district, obviously as a Democrat, you would be governing a district that is largely a Republican district.
It is.
How would you represent folks that may not adhere to your philosophies, but take their voice to Washington, D.C. and advocate on their behalf?
Well, isn't it? Yeah, people
That's
don't want to
actually a really
take
good
Section
question,
8
because
housing, right,
today,
Tanya? I
actually had a
mean,
conversation with this
landlords
with a guy
don't want
who's
to take
doing a
Section
little
8
interview.
certificates.
I got a TV interview. I was very
So
excited
people get the
about
cert
that.
and can't do anything.
Anyway, so this guy says to me, he's like, how do we?
I zoned out,
Sorry,
but then I
can
come
you
back.
repeat it? I just zoned out.
The question
How
is,
will I represent red?
there you go.
Sorry. So basically, in that, I said to him, I said, look, man, for me, it's not about the cultural issues that define us as red and blue. It's about people being defined as every day they get up and they're trying to live their best lives. There are people who work every day of their lives, right? And they get up and they want their kids to get a good education and to have a great future. And their parents are old and they need help and they're sick and they need health care. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or whether you're white or black or Hispanic or whether you're any of these things. What matters is that everybody gets up and is having a struggle each day to have their best life. And so I care about kitchen table issues. The things that are driving us apart right now in this society are pathetic. They should not matter. We are getting ready to come up on a gay marriage question. Whereas marriage,
I don't know why I
is
picked this as my
nothing
example, but
a
I still
civil
think it's a good
contract
example.
between two consenting adults that has nothing to do with anybody else. And if you don't believe me, go to a church and get married, but don't fill out the license and don't pay it. And see how married you are. You're not. We shouldn't be arguing about those things. What we should be doing is
I'm a
getting up
snarky
each
dude
day
sometimes, aren't
and
I?
trying to help each other. So for me, like I said, it's about healthcare. It's about jobs. It's about affordable housing. It's about broadband, right? It's about and education. It's about making lives better. So I don't care what someone's political ideology is. If they come to me to get help with those things to make them and their lives, family better, I'm on their team.
We are at the point now where we'll give you 2 minutes to wrap up your comments.
I
Again,
agree.
Thank you for your participation in tonight's forum.
Sure. So thank you, and thanks for ignoring where I just zoned out about the red question there for a second, but it happens. So, I mean, I know it's hard to believe today that someone who does hold strong beliefs can also represent people who don't necessarily hold those strong beliefs. But the biggest thing that brought me to this place to run was the fact that the people here are not getting fair representation and have not for a long time. Virginia Fox's core philosophy is that federal government does not have a role in making lives better. And don't take my word for it. Go read the things she says. Things like student loan relief, improving our
Are you talking
healthcare
about this
system,
part right here,
fighting
Andrea?
for better education up here and getting more dollars, right? Figuring out ways to provide affordable housing, making sure everybody has food and clothing and housing is good for everybody. Fighting about it and playing zero-sum games and getting into culture wars is not helping. And that is evidenced by the fact that this 5th district, these 12 counties, have not seen job growth, have not seen a reduction in poverty, have not seen fewer kids on school lunch. It is not advancing, and it's because the representative who has been in for 9 terms and is running for a 10th does not care. And that couldn't be clearer than the fact that the chair next to me is empty and that she won't hold a town hall. So thank you very much. I'm Kyle Parrish. I'm running for Congress. First time guy, probably a little unpolished, but I really hope you'll vote for me. And don't hesitate beyond this to reach out to me and ask any questions you want. I'm available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle. We will be transitioning now
There we go.
to our
All right.
candidate forum.
So
for
Derek,
Watauga
let's see
County.
if we can go find that other part. That was fun, huh? I think I did pretty well to close. Did I do a good job closing it? I didn't do it. I want to start in a different place. Here we go. Happy Kyle. Yeah, there we go. All right. So I think it was funny. I did totally zone out. And then right when the guy started talking, it clicked back with me. Like, yikes. So anyway, let's see. Now, Derek, let me see if I can find the student loan bit. I think you'll like it. I think I repped it pretty well.
Topic for businesses as well as community members across our area. It is very, very tough for businesses who
Now, that's healthcare.
Departments who's got everything in the whole world. All of this results in how much does that help in your healthcare?
Let's see.
Did that make credit cards cheaper? Did it lower interest
I think
rates?
this is
Did it
healthcare.
do any of that? No, it didn't. So
I need
I'm
to
a
clip this
single-payer
into
guy.
pieces. So I talk about
You need to get
healthcare. I
employers
talk about
out of
student
health
debt.
insurance,
I
and
talk
in
about
that
these
way,
things that are
it's
kind
a
of
thing, right?
issues. Let's see. Here we go.
We've got a few college students.
Here we go,
tonight,
Derek. Look
so
at that. I
part
was
of
pretty
this
good. I
meeting,
found it.
There's been a lot
You
of
better not have
conversation
left.
about consolidation or forgiveness of student loans. What is your stance on that? And again, I'll ask the question: what is the federal government's role in this particular endeavor?
Oh man, I love this one. Another one. You're just getting me going here. So, student loan debt. I'm going to start with S-2598.
Thanks for those of you who are
which
here have to
is
watch
a
this twice.
Senate bill, bipartisan, John Cornyn, Josh Hawley, and funny, I can't remember the Democrat name, Dick Durbin. They brought this bill. What is it? It's a bill that says, hey, you should be able to go bankrupt and get rid of your student loan debt. And you're like, what? You can't go bankrupt? No, you cannot. There's a
33,
special
it was at like
dispensation that says
33
you can't
minutes or
discharge
32 and a
student debt
half.
in bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy is actually written into the Constitution. Yet these people who say they are constitutionalists refuse to do it. Oh, and can you guess who one of the biggest roadblocks to any advancement on student debt bankruptcy relief is? Oh, that's right. It's the senior member of the ranking member of the Education and Labor Committee, Virginia Fox, who her top 2 donors are student loan companies and for-profit colleges that make all their money off of student loans. You'll never see that when she's attacking it. Joint consolidation is another huge problem. Joint consolidation, which is going away now, was where if you married someone and they had $100,000 in debt, and then you got divorced and that person went deadbeat, the companies could come back
So, Derek,
to you.
it's at Boone Area Chamber of Commerce candidate forum. Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. Boone Area Chamber of Commerce candidate forum.
Even though you have nothing to do with that person or their debt, and hold you accountable. That's ridiculous, right? Many of the people who have student debt, and this is very important at a place like App, and even more important at private schools sometimes, is they were either sold a bill of goods or they've been paying a loan for a long time and have experienced negative amortization. What that means is even though they've paid for 10 years and they've paid off the principal balance, they now owe more than they ever had. It's a broken system. We need to fix it. Now, that is my answer because I've already gotten my hand signal. But I mean, this is a complex topic, but bankruptcy is absolutely something that has to be restored. Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times. Why can't a student go bankrupt once?
There you go, Derek.
Policy has been
right. And then this guy starts going on and on again. He's actually a guy. Omer was his name.
And laws were actually formed in the 19th.
Yeah, this is immigration. We talked about that already.
So
So anyway, yeah, it was pretty fun. So I'll pause it.
But they limited.
So anyone who is interested in this, it's the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce candidate forum. It took place last Thursday. What this made me think is I would love to do more of these things because it does. It keeps you crisp. It makes you think about stuff, right? It makes you have to go through and answer questions that are uncomfortable. Keep in mind, when you do this type of thing, you show up, no one gives you the questions in advance. So you basically have to sit down and whatever they throw at you, they throw at you. And so I was like going to get prepared, which I really didn't. I always think I'm going to get prepared and I don't, right? It's kind of like I always think I'm going to lose weight and I don't do that either. So anyhow, but I thought I was going to get prepared. So I go the night before, I think it was, and I start watching the 2020 candidates forum because I'm like, hey, I can watch the 2020 one. Well, it was funny. The guy who did it was a guy named David Wilson Brown. He got stood up by Virginia Fox for a different reason because Congress was in session. She's like, I can't come, but hey, and they let her have a 4-minute video. And I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. But David Wilson Brown then talked about this stuff. And he was like, yeah, he answered all their questions and everything. And I was like saying to myself, man, there's no way I'm going to sit there and just kind of answer their questions without ever mentioning anything about Virginia Fox. That was the first lesson. The second lesson is I'm not going to learn anything about what these cats are going to ask because all they talked about in 2020 was the pandemic. So I really didn't learn a lot from it, but it was really fun and interesting to go up there because it's kind of like they're going to ask you these questions. The first few questions they asked me, which I didn't really play here, the first 20 minutes, you can go watch it. I don't think I did a job that I was like really like, wow, I killed it. I think at the end of it, I think I did pretty well. So, all these things, what happens is I get more and more confident that we have the right message. And that if we can get in front of the right audiences and we can talk to the right people, we have the right message. Now, we've probably run out of runway for the 2022 election. But I honestly, the more I learn about Virginia Fox and the more we talk to people and the more we point out what little she's done and the more all that kind of thing, I think she's vulnerable. And I think we just need to continue picking at her. So whether it's trying to find all the people who have student loans in the 5th district and getting them engaged, which we've tried to do, but it's kind of hard too, whether it's understanding all the people that have health concerns and she hasn't really helped to do anything with rural health care, people who have jobs that are exploitive and she favors not even having a minimum wage. I think when we have these conversations with people, I think we can change minds. So while, like I said, it may not be this cycle, the more I talk in forums like this and the more I talk to people, sure, you're going to have people that are just intransigent and you're never going to move them off the point. But a lot of people are like, hold on a second. You're right. My student loan, I should be able to go bankrupt. It's not fair. And why is the person who's supposedly representing me fighting against that? Yeah, I mean, and then the lights start to come on that they're getting cheated. Same with healthcare. When you start explaining to people that private health insurance companies really don't do anything but pay bills and that their entire model is to charge you as much as possible and pay out as little as possible, people begin to think that Medicare for all sounds like a pretty good deal. So, going to these forums keeps you sharp and it makes you think about more stuff. So if people had, if we can find more of these forums, I've actually thought to myself, it might be a pretty cool idea going forward to have like one of these candidate forums once a month online, or we get a venue and we invite people to come talk about what's going on and policies in the world and all that kind of thing. And we actually have like moderators like rotating or something that ask questions, and that we do present it online and say, here, you want to know what your representatives are doing it for you. You want to know who's being involved in policy and what they're thinking. Because doing this once every 2 years doesn't really do it justice. This also brings another thing to me, which is that there should be a law that every single person who wants to run for office, especially a federal office, the Senate or House of Representatives, should have to participate in at least a couple of debates. It's completely unfair to a person like me who's coming in as a first-time candidate, who has little name recognition and doesn't have a huge war chest, to come in and try to run against Virginia Fox, who has millions of dollars in her war chest, who has 18 years of incumbency, and who has op-eds that they print in all the local papers, that I can't even get her to show up to a place and actually acknowledge that there's someone else who has ideas different than hers. There's something fundamentally wrong with a democracy where the people who are in office do not have to interact with their constituents at all. Virginia Fox at the very beginning of this, here, I'll play my intro statement. That was I think I did a pretty good job on my intro too. Let me see. So for those of you who weren't here then, let me play this. So they do an intro here. Well, we want to go a little further.
In a variety of ways. So,
right.
First things first, we'd like to thank the staff here at the Appalachian Theater.
We don't want to
for all
thank
questions.
them.
Questions for tonight's forum.
We still don't care about this. Hold on.
The Boone area.
That our time is short with each of these candidate groups, and the questions are new. Today is November 8th, with polls open.
So I think I did pretty well introducing this here, but
p.m.
And please,
Virginia Fox should have to go there.
Turn off your phones at this time.
For members of the audience, tonight we begin with our candidates for the U.S. House of Representatives 5th District.
Yeah.
The Republican Party candidate for this race, incumbent Congresswoman Virginia Fox, has politely declined our invitation to participate in tonight's forum.
Of course she did.
We are joined by the Democratic candidate for the district U.S. House seat, Kyle Parrish. Kyle, at this time, thank you for joining us, and you may make your 2-minute opening statement.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm Kyle Parrish, and I'm up here by myself. There's a lot of microphones, apparently, for all of us. But Virginia chose not to show up, which I expected because she hadn't held a town hall in 8 years. So I don't expect that she's going to show up and have to answer any questions from anybody. I, being a first-time candidate, I'm more than happy to answer any questions anyone has, and I'll do the best I can. Not going to pretend I know everything, but I am going to be happy to tell you that I'll go and find out. I'm running because there's a lack of representation in the 5th District, and has been no matter how the North Carolina General Assembly has drawn it. It's been drawn many different ways in her 9 terms, and to tell you the truth, no matter how you draw it, the poverty rates stay where they are, the number of kids on free and reduced lunch stay the way they are.
Derek, you're exactly right.
Offshore, not necessarily been replaced.
She just counts on a straight ticket vote. She doesn't have to do anything.
The healthcare system out here in rural areas is starting to break down, and Virginia chooses not to show up. So I chose to show up, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to show up if I get elected. right? I'll show up for you. I'm not going to show up for the people that donate to the campaign. I'm not going to show up for the corporations. I'm going to show up for the people of the 5th. So thank you. And that's why I'm here tonight.
Well, having said that, how do you plan to
There you go.
prioritize the need?
Yeah. So this thing, I had to show up, and I still show up, and I show up on this stream, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's boring. I don't know. Sometimes I would love to be in a room with people because it would be more exciting. Bye, Andrea. I love it when you come. I'll talk to you all soon. All right. So one of the things is she doesn't have to. And I think it's a real problem because we don't have a way to hold these people accountable. And the more and more, and I'll do a thing on gerrymandering and that type of thing, because the 5th district is heavily gerrymandered. They know exactly who is going to get elected with very high precision when they draw the maps. That's wrong, because here's the deal. Well, first of all, it disenfranchises the voter. In fact, you're just going to cast a ridiculous vote. It doesn't matter because the outcome is pretty much predetermined by statistics. The second thing is as a result, Virginia Fox does not have to do a damn thing for her constituents. She can trade all the stocks she wants. She can make all the money she can. She can do everything that helps Virginia Fox and Virginia Fox's friends and never have to worry about losing an election. Well, guess what? So if the people of the 5th want to have a woman's right to choose and for them to have their own health care, it doesn't matter. If the people of the 5th want someone who would get some earmarks and bring some tax money back in order to fix their roads, it doesn't matter. There's only one Republican candidate on the ticket. That Republican gets promoted. That's Virginia Fox. There's no way to beat that incumbent. And then she has no way she's going to lose for the most part, because the Democratic Party has basically conceded this area of the state for a couple of decades, number one. And number two is the General Assembly drew it so that there's no way she would lose. It'd be highly unlikely. It leads to an undemocratic system where nobody gets representation, and the only person that's represented in the whole thing is the representative, Virginia Fox. And if she never has to debate anybody, and she never has to hold a town hall, and if she never has to do anything, then you're never going to get anything different. So anyway, I appreciate it. It's now 7:54. I think we've talked a lot. This is great stuff. Derek, what do you say here? You say best chances talk to the colleges and high schools. You know, you're absolutely right. And it's funny, I was talking to this guy that I work with on the campaign tonight. Well, I don't work with him on the campaign tonight. I work on the whole campaign, but I was talking to him tonight. Anyway, and I said, I need to go to all the colleges. I particularly need to go to the HBCUs, right? I haven't made it there. We need to get the high schools involved. We need to go visit clubs, right? Like the Gay Straight Alliance, that type of thing. There are pockets of liberalism in these schools. But I think we also need to talk to kids about their futures, because I think a lot of these kids that are in these places don't feel like they have a future. They've seen the 5th district shrink and businesses leave and their parents lose opportunities and nothing showing up to help them. How does that work? They become hopeless. So we need to go in and we need to give them hope. And we need to say there are alternatives. And if they fight for it, they can change their own world. And if they feel like they can't do that, we also need to tell them that there's a much bigger world out there, right? They can go to Raleigh. They can go to Charlotte. They can go to the Triad. They can get educations. They can begin to branch out and build a new world for themselves. The 5th district is one of the most beautiful places in the country. I firmly believe that. But if it continues to decline and become a retirement community and become an Airbnb destination, that leaves nothing for the people who live there. There needs to be a change if they want, as so many of the Republican politicians say, their kids to grow up and live there. You've got to give them something that they can grab onto and think about the fact that they could actually have a future. They don't right now. They can't even find a place to live. They can't find a job that pays. And that's because of Virginia Fox and because of those areas that are controlled by a bunch of people who say that they care, but their conservative leadership has led them to a death spiral in those counties. And we haven't even talked about the fact that of methamphetamine addiction, opioid addiction, and the other problems that are resident up in those areas. It's rampant. And what has Virginia Fox done to help them? So anyway, I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you joining. Derek, it's been awesome. Tanya, Andrea, others, thank you so much. Never hesitate to reach out to me. I love talking to y'all. I love interacting. And pretty soon I'm going to start having some guests. And I'm going to come up with a name for this stream. Seems like we need to brand the stream. I don't know. So if you have any ideas for names for this stream, let me know. I don't know, the too honest Paul, something like that. Who knows? Pick a name, any name. Hope you're having a great night. Hey, man, I love it. And Derek, every week I'm here, and you can reach me in the interim. And if I actually, I know sometimes I'm frustratingly slow responding to email, but I eventually do. So anyway, have a great night. Thanks for coming out.